I am absolutely obsessed with this Viego player. He is a Viego mid lane one trick. He plays the champion to perfection in the mid lane, has a very different playstyle from most people, and he has been sitting in Challenger for the longest time. But after being away for a good amount of time now, he has finally resurfaced and started the grind once again. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna head into the Rift on the Korean server, and we are going to spectate Needher on one of the most difficult matchups that I can imagine. It is going to be the Syndra. In the mid lane, Syndra is a very, very scary champion, has a lot of ways to push him back, get him off of her, can control him, and her ultimate shuts Viego down very, very hard during team fights. Now, the most obvious way would be using your ultimate to deal the finishing blow, but there is more. Because what Syndra can do if she falls behind is she ults first, and that way she gets the balls around him, and then she presses Scatter the Weak and stuns Viego, which then can set up for a Sejuani, a Narstun, in this case, also Nautilus gun. So this is such a difficult game. I've played a lot of Viego mid in my time now. I've even uploaded a video where I go over one of my low elo games and kind of work, or yeah, tell you how it worked out for me and what I do and what I figured out and so on and so forth. So number one, Viego is a very, very difficult champion to pull off in mid lane versus certain types of champions. She is one of them. Now, I want to point out that Needher is a very static player. He tends to build the same items. He tends to do the same things. He does take teleport here, which is very, very abnormal for him. He usually always goes for Ignite, which already shows us that he isn't really expecting to be able to win this lane just like that. So what he is doing here is he's trying to bait out the Syndra Qs, and he's done it once, but this time he's going to get punished. And with Eri, oftentimes he still loses even if he dodges the Q, as the auto attack Eri will come through. And you can see that he is taking a lot of damage. Now, he is running Second Wind, and he is running Unflinching. He could go Revitalize. Revitalize does work very well with his passive, with his Doran's Ring, or Doran's Shield, and would give him a good amount of HP more. So I want to point that out, that if his goal was to not run out of HP, there is a little bit of a better resource, but Unflinching will allow him to, in the later game, be able to survive through a lot of the harass and sustain here. As here, yeah, he is just being bullied out by the Syndra. Obviously wants to get his passive in as much as he can, right? Get the Q passive in as much as he can. So he goes invisible, and this is the strongest tool that he has, right? Goes invisible, hits a Q on her, and then finishes up with the auto attack eventually, right? Very late, but eventually gets the auto attack on her. Now, the thing is that she trades back with the Q, and that is just super strong. And yeah, you can see how he has to press his E a lot. And if you press your E just to farm, then oftentimes that means that you will run out of steam in the lane. So here, we are just playing very defensively, trying to get as much CS as possible. We are at 17 out of 19 CS right now, so doing pretty well. Syndra also farming very poorly, I must say. I mean, that is actually, yeah. She's not doing the hottest, but, you know, still very good. Especially on the harass front. Someone like me would have already crumbled here. As Needher will try to pick up all the CS he can. Tries to use the W to dodge Qs, but that can also be very difficult to pull off, as he does use the potion right now. And he's gonna make his way over to that, yeah. Oh, yeah, you gotta be careful. It's a Q. The Scatter of the Weak does not land, and now we are in a very interesting position, because this is where the War of Attrition comes in. No mana on the Syndra. She does have a Doran's Ring and some biscuits, so she will be able to potentially pull this one out, right? But he has an angle here of trying to make her blow more spells and then eventually she runs out of mana. The problem with Biscuits is exactly that. She is able to regenerate a lot of mana just by popping Biscuits. She has now gone through all of her Biscuits and her healing potions, which is very big and very important to keep that in mind. She doesn't have anything in her inventory anymore. However, as she last hits, she will be able to get some mana back from Doran's Ring. So what she needs to do is play it safe here, but she can't, as the all-in is found, but Viego will go down to her. And I mean, at least she blows her flash. I would say that's good. Viego didn't blow his flash, so that opens up a little bit of an angle. Also, the lane state slightly in favor of Viego here. As, yeah, his teleport will get him back to lane, and he's going for a null magic mantle here. Probably going to go for the tier 2 boots very early. Tier 2 boots I found are super good on Viego, especially on these bully matchups, as obviously you want to be able to dodge the spells, but you also want to be able to gap close and walk in and out of range of the enemy, hit your Q, hit your auto attacks, and basically what you want to do is you want to hit them a lot with your Q and kind of prepare them for a potential auto attack, run away, auto attack, run away. And you kind of do that, and if they end up making a mistake, they find themselves just slightly out of position, then you can follow up with, you know, the auto attack with the W auto attack and keep chasing, because then your Conqueror is, you know, well about to be stacked, and you can run them down. And most mages lose at that point, right? But you kind of have to get to that point, right? And we also often see Needher go for Taste of Blood, right? Taste of Blood, very, very good if you are able to hit the enemy a lot with spells. But obviously in the Syndra matchup, this isn't guaranteed, depending on how the Syndra plays. If the Syndra elects to play very safe, can be very difficult. As the fight is breaking out here, the Draven now in a lot of trouble, but will be taking down the Nautilus, as actually the team turns onto Viego, not onto the Draven. And Viego goes down once again to the Syndra. And this is going to be a card that has to be pulled out of the mud by his team, I think. But we will see. Because Needher is very good at playing from behind, believe it or not. Especially for being a Viego player. That is very important. As, oh my god, Thresh goes down. And unfortunately, the Zeri is going to come out alive out of this one. As the flash out of the Sejuani. Preemptive cleanse. But we are going to be able to flash away from the Sejuani, as no extendo beam is going to be attempted here by the Zeri. She did slightly position herself out there to the wall, but ended up not doing it. As now a dive would be absolutely huge here off the Nautilus, but extendo beam is not going to find the target, as the Zeri is going to collect some money instead from the plates. Needher instead, currently pushing out the mid lane wave. 59 to 57 HP. He has been able to grab a lead of XP, which is absolutely nuts. I mean, this is also Syndra last hitting very poorly, being very focused on bullying him out. And as it seems, not being good enough to do both of these. Syndra is responding with Sorcerer Boots of her own, which is very, very smart, that response. She is going to be a little bit more low on mana, but it's not really an issue as long as she plays it correctly and uses her auto attacks a lot, as Zac will not find the engage onto the Syndra. And name of the game here is to put pressure onto the Syndra. This is what has worked for me the most, and make her use Scatter the Weak together with the Q, because oftentimes then she doesn't do maximum amount of damage, but she uses 2 spells that are mana intensive. And if that happens a couple of times and she doesn't have a mana item, then it's going to be difficult for her, as a takedown here onto the Nautilus is going to be picked up by Needher, who now is going to get out of there, but the Q will find him and Syndra will take him down just a second after he took that lantern. Very well done by the Syndra. And I saw him ult out of there, but unfortunately he didn't make it. He did invest his flash here into grabbing the kill, and that is really, really rough. That is pretty... yeah, that is pretty bad. As Syndra now in a firm lead here. And KDF Alvingo will pick up the kill onto the Draven. Yeah, Draven is one of these characters that can be kited by the Zeri. And if that happens, it is an absolute nightmare. As we see that Thresh is trying to impact the mid lane here a lot, right? This is obviously something in high relo. Having a Viego mid that loses is absolute panic material. Because you do not want to deal as a bot lane with a 24/7 roaming Syndra that can do whatever she pleases. As Neither will not find the cancel on the recall. I think that definitely needed to happen. As we are going to shove it out. A little bit of a bug coming out there. You saw that, right? Of Viego just sliding around instead of moving. It is what it is. This game is a little bit old and needs to be reworked, but will not be reworked because that is monetarily not very lucrative to Riot Games. So here we are with a bugged game. As, yeah, we gotta be a little bit careful here. Syndra is gonna get the cancel. Au contraire. Now, the Zac is going to find the Zeri, and that is a dead Zeri. Dead to the enemy AD carry. Worst position here to be in, as the enemy AD carry does not only collect a shutdown of 300 gold, he also collects a double kill for himself in the bottom lane. Very good. As Neither, that tells us, okay, we can sit back. We can chillax a little bit, right? And just kind of live. Yeah, so using your W, short Ws, to dodge out on spells and complete your spacing and CS. Very important. Something that you will have to learn if you want to play Viego mid lane. In my experience, using the WQ trick can be very good, but you end up using 2 resources basically, right? You can use it, especially under a turret. Oftentimes I use it to dodge out on a spell and still get the CS, stuff like that. As the Sejuani is going to start working on the dragon here. Is going to be is going to be oh, actually no. No, she isn't detected here. Yeah, she probably went down from behind. And she will pick up a dragon for herself. That is absolutely tragic. As that could have definitely gone over to the red team here, as the red team did have decent control here. Slight gold lead here by the blue team, obviously absolutely not in the mid lane though, as the Viego will be rocking a longsword and double daggers. This could obviously be the components for a... Honestly, for a Noon Quiver could be the case, but as I know Neither, he just goes for the Blade of the Rune King first. Versus the Syndra, I have found an absolute love for the item that is Wit's End. It can put you very beautifully through the mid game, and honestly you do a lot of damage with it as well, as it does do very well versus tanks like the Sejuani especially, who does start out with a lot of physical damage reduction, as the on-hit magic damage from the Wit's End can be very useful. A little bit of a CSing mistake here by Neither, as he will not get the cancel again. Now a 10 CS lead here in the mid lane, which is honestly very good, as the Syndra is gonna be building towards her Ludens. It's not called Echoes anymore. I don't know what it's called, but it doesn't matter, as a kill goes over to Neither here. 2, 3, and 1 now. The stat line has been recovered, as Draven obviously. Absolute unit, and this is a very good job by Neither, as he finds a very, very favorable team fight, and it is important that he is hovering towards the side that is doing well and that is winning at this moment, right? He is hovering towards it, he's fighting towards this, he's trying to kind of draw in the enemy team into an uneven fight there, and that was an uneven fight. Something like Draven is absolutely good to have on your team as Neither, as obviously he does do a lot of damage, and that can open up the possibility for you to just jump in and pick up a kill. You don't need to do all the work yourself, as Neither will pick up a recurve bow, a vampiric scepter, and a pickaxe now, which pretty much confirms the build path that he will be going for. It is the Blade of the Rune King, which is his go-to item. I've done some damage testing. It is by far the best item to get. Better than pretty much every item. It is better than Kraken. It is better than, in most situations obviously, better than Kraken. It's better than you name the item. Trinity Force I've tried. I have tried Black Cleaver first, which actually, Black Cleaver can work very well if you're facing off against super heavy tanky teammates and you have an AD jungler that will play together with you. It's pretty specific, but that is something of a little bit of a secret that I would love to see actually in this game as well, as Draven is going to be the most influential player here, with even a Karma here to support. And also, Viego has been in a little bit of a weird situation when it comes to items for a long time, but I think that now with the recent buffs to the crit damage on his Q passive, as a huge fight will break out here. Zeri on the Draven, as Draven will be taken down here by the Sejuani. Shutdown collected, goes over to her, as the Thresh now taken down by her as well, as Needher will be able to find a decent fight here, but he hasn't taken up any transform yet, and that is a bit of an issue, as he will be locked down and stunned out and shut down. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Syndra and the Sejuani are a power couple when it comes to that, as Karma did arrive a little bit late to the scene and will not have the biggest of impact. Just bopped and weaved around and just... Ooh, the flash will get her to safety here momentarily, but Syndra is laying chase to that. No Scatter the Weak will find her, as Karma will get her booty outie. As, yeah, I mean, Gnar has managed to take down the first turret already, and is obviously working on the second turret already with the minions now. He will take down the Gromp as well, which is a reasonably big hit, but you're also facing off against Azak, so that doesn't really feel like the most impactful thing. As obviously the Sejuani will have to get a rowdy. Genau das. Alright, so Warmongs now collected for the Sejuani, who is going to be very, very scary with the mixed resistances from her passive, together as that bonus HP obviously is going to help her out quite a bit to create a good amount of effective HP, and it's very difficult for Viego to get through this. 2-4-1, it is not looking very good for the Viego player, as Draven will take down the Syndra eventually and chase down the Nautilus here as well. Shutdown goes over to the Draven here onto the Syndra. Just a little bit of money, 150 gold, but it is some money at last. It goes over to the Draven here. This Draven is absolutely strong and fed, but so is this Zeri. It doesn't look like she is, but she is doing pretty well for herself, especially given the fact that she has collected pretty big shutdowns already. I think she's collected 2 of them by this time of the day. One of them was 300, the other one, I don't know, probably 150, as it was a little bit earlier in the game. As now the Draven will be farming it up. 150 CS to 133 is in a solid farm lead here, as again, I mentioned this before, Zeri is pretty good at running away from a Draven, especially with a Sejuani and an Gnar in front, so this fight is definitely not over about who is going to be the most impactful AD carry here. It can be very difficult for Draven to have a lot of impact onto something like the Nautilus, Sejuani, Gnar, as they can instantly stack up the Sejuani passive, and then you're just locked down between the Nautilus auto attacks, between the Nautilus Q, the ultimate, the Sejuani ultimate, the Sejuani E, the Q, and then some, which is Gnar also, you know, and Scatter the Weak to start it all out. Gonna be difficult for Draven, gonna be difficult for the Viego, as the ultimate, double ultimate actually onto the support, will lock down absolutely nothing, as Draven will pick up a kill for himself once again to start this fight off, as Needher, very close to the fight, is trying to get some passive procs here onto the enemy team so he can get the transform. But you can see that he is not playing this very aggressively. He's pretty much just trying to set up for very short trades. Yeah, exactly. And CC combos, as a shutdown is going to be acquired here by the Draven. And now Sejuani in the possession here of the blue team can actually do a lot of work here as an engage, especially since Viego has the ability to Q in and then ultimate himself out, get himself to safety again, as he will be looking for a W onto the enemy team. Once again, Zac finds a huge hit onto multiple peoples of the enemy team. He is in that weak underbelly together with the Draven, as they will take down the Zeri, and Sejuani will not be able to help out this little flower that went down, as well as, by the way, the Syndra, who also ended up going down here to, I don't know, I think it was the Zac who's chasing her down. Very huge engage here found by the Zac, as Viego will be going down. And this is kind of just the fate of a Viego. If you fall behind, it can be super strugglesome to have any impact onto the game. Even if you get a transform, oftentimes the enemy team knows how scary Viego is, and so they will peel off of you, and then you don't end up getting anything, and it just all doesn't really work out that well. And in this case, it definitely didn't for him. However, did work out for the Draven, who's now on 3 items here. Absolutely huge, now accelerated to a point where Zeri will have a very, very difficult time just dealing with the Draven here, because Draven at this point can just run her down and just deal incredible amounts of damage, and it's gonna be like 3-4 axes and she is dead. Absolutely huge damage here out of the Draven. As you can see from the placement of the axes, he was playing this pretty safe, but now we are finding the Zeri, and the second hook is going to pick up the Zeri actually for Need Her here, as that isn't really necessarily the craziest transform, but it is pretty good for starting out a Baron, which is exactly what we are going to do, as Gnar has left the game already. Slightly tilted, but he is already back at it again, as the Zac will be bouncing on top of that Sejuani and returning back, making sure that the Baron is picked up by actually the Draven. Very interesting, as Nidra now gonna lay some chase here to the Syndra, as Sejuani has been lost, and now, yeah, he can't play as aggressively anymore, as Syndra, still super scary champion. But 148 CS, he has been catching up with her consistently. Whenever he fell behind, he's been catching up in CS consistently. He is going to be starting out in the side lanes here, and this is obviously super important to see how exactly he does find these good angles. As now, obviously, with Baron, there is a good amount of damage available here against this turret. As we are going to proc that E. I'm not the biggest fan of proccing that E, as you could have been ran down here by Sejuani and the Gnar, potentially, and that would be absolutely problematic, as your E doesn't really do a lot. But we are going to get out of here. Obviously, the E is max second here, right? Very important about Viego mid lane, and generally Viego, is that your E is such a strong tool, especially for split pushing though, that you do want that tool available to yourself as much as you can, as now the Sejuani and the Gnar are going to be in the top side here, with Kama now rotating towards the top side to counteract the Gnar. And Need Her is going to be looking at some Gnar kill here. Some Gnar catch and cook. Nope. No Gnar catch and cook. However, the dragon will be taken down and goes over to the counter of the blue team here, as Sejuani is still hovering around the Gnar, who will now find the recall. And obviously, the AD carries are farming it up. Who would have expected, right? Yeah, who would have expected indeed, as Navori Quick Blades now available here to the Zeri, together with the Mortal Shield Ball. That's kind of cute, but, you know. Cute is also where it ends. It's not crazy. So it is what it is. As I kind of wonder how exactly Navori works with her Q. Huh. Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of weird, because she's a reverse champion, right? Her auto attack is a spell, and her spells are auto attacks. Or one of her spell is auto attacks. It's kind of weird. As Zeri so far standing her ground pretty well here. Yeah, dealing a good amount of damage to the Zac, who will now be sitting around together with Magice and Jaksho the Pro. What? Very interesting build path here out of Zac, the Zac player. I think that guy likes to play Zac, potentially. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure, but you can see how difficult it can be here for the blue team to crack the red team. The weird thing here is that red team has a lot of tools to disengage and kite away and create space for themselves as well as engage, where for the blue team, It's a little bit more Karma speeds up everyone and we run at the enemy team and hopefully we can do something. Or it is a catch comp, obviously, with the Zac and the Viego together with Thresh paired and the Draven. Obviously, they have a good amount of catch potential, right? So that is the other option to play this all out, as Viego mid lane obviously doesn't net himself super well to a team fight strategy, you know? Imagine having a different type of mid laner here, you know, dependent on what you want. Could be a Ryze, could be something like a TF. Anyhow, Gnar is going to be caught out of position here, will go down. I absolutely recommend to you, by the way, one of the mini Draft Kingdoms here from LS who was talking about who is the bigger beatdown. And it is a little bit of the strategy of who is forced to just have to run in and hope and pray, and who has more of a mix between aggro and passivity and peel. And in this case, it is definitely going to be the red team here that is able to peel for themselves and create a little bit more space for their carries. In case they find themselves behind, they can kind of lock it down a little bit. As a kill onto the Karma picked up here, Zac is absolutely dangerous to go down here as the teleport comes in from Needher. Zeri will be found here by the Draven, and it all turns around because the red team couldn't get their mouth full and just needed to keep going, as beautiful Thresh will secure another takedown here onto the Syndra, taken up by the Zac. But now Syndra has turned sides and is on the blue team here for a second. 4, 5, and 6, the stat line is getting better for Viego, as he is going for a Kraken Slayer. And now with the Caulfield's Hammer and the Ruby Crystal, I believe it is happening. The Black Cleaver is coming in. Black Cleaver is absolutely great because, especially on Viego, you can catch out something like the Sidrani, W auto attack, Q auto attack, and the Black Cleaver is fully stacked, and your Draven does more damage, which is very good. And obviously you do more damage. But that, I mean, yeah. You know, that's a bit of a no-brainer. And also Black Cleaver pretty good versus Gnar, actually, especially with his items. As Needher is gonna look for the Gnar here. The Gnar hop will get him over the tower, but now where do you go? As Gnar will be taken down, but trading himself here for the tower deliberately. As Needher now has found the positive stat line, finally, with a 300 gold shutdown to his name. He has been able to get a lot of money here. And how was it? I mean, honestly, just being at fights and teleporting to the fights at the correct times and kind of just playing around the strategic side of the game, right? Being on the side lane and then teleporting towards the fights when necessary. And you will see that whenever his teleport isn't available, he will heavily play around his team and not go for the split push here, right? A player might want to push out this wave, which will create the absolutely most ugly freezes here for, or slow pushes for the blue team, I guess, but absolutely ugly situation there. But Needher will prioritize just being at objectives and playing together with his team, as the Baron will be started and absolutely melted here by the Draven. As Sidrani will take the 50-50 and will bring the Baron back home again, as Needher will pick up the Nautilus, and that is a pretty strong transform here, as we can use our ultimate to just get over the wall. Will not do it though, as he will catch out the Gnar, and he does a lot of damage to the Gnar. He will probably take down the Gnar eventually, as the Karma will join in here, but the Gnar ultimate comes out and barely will take down Needher, as Karma with a flash now will secure the bind here onto the Gnar, and Gnar will go down to the Draven, who does insane amounts of damage. Zeri wasn't at that fight, and so it all went crumbling down. And even though Sidrani secured that Baron with a beautiful 50-50 flip, unfortunately, not much comes of it. As a very smart idea here off the Zeri to proxy the wave and prevent the blue team here from knocking down the mid lane turret, but they will take the dragon instead. And so now Zeri is forced to find the all-in here onto the Karma. Karma, who is just going to peel for herself and just going to run away, as she knows that her team will be coming in. As Zeri, just kited out by the Karma, will not be able to find herself the safe spot or the good wall slide here to get her to safety, as the heal comes out of the Zeri, and Zeri will be taken down here by the Zac, who is godlike at this point. 7-0 and 13, 25 stacks on the Magi's. This boy is a tanky boy, and even though he did lose the 50-50, he is sitting very tight in the driver's seat of this game, obviously, as the Baron kind of gave a little bit of money here over, but the successive takedowns of the red team here obviously lost them more than they gained from the Baron steal, which is pretty tragic. Thresh hooks are absolutely immaculate. In this game, I mean, the Thresh is just putting in work, dude. Absolutely beautiful. As Needher, you see, has been moving back down to the bottom lane here. He does have his teleport available, so he will be constantly looking at his team and trying to teleport whenever it is necessary. But now he will do just a little bit of maintenance here on the base and kind of defend the waves that are pushing in, kind of get himself some money and teleport if needed. As Sejuani will be caught out here, a massive damage out of the Draven as Sejuani will be taken down here. Gnar does take down the turret, and VIEGO knows that he cannot fight this Gnar. Gnar, pretty gnarly damage. See what I did there? And obviously he is level 17 as well, as Needher just has to understand that he does not have what it takes to take down this Gnar, as Gnar will just be bullying him down, dealing massive amounts of damage here, as he will be able to find the Gnar here, as a ultimate will catch out VIEGO, barely not lead into the CC chain though, as Needher has to blow his flash and his ultimate, no, just his flash to get on over there, or out of there, as Gnar will recall now. Seems like the blue team didn't really find a lot of success. The inhibs had been traded. So very good job by the Gnar here, as yeah, you can see how little impact in this case Needher does seem to have. Not really doing an amazing job, and not really taking the game over, as now the Black Cleaver is available. That is a pretty big power spike together with a Chain Vest, which will probably lead into, it could be a Death Stance, but I'm not expecting it. I'm expecting probably something like a GA would be better, as that allows you to be very aggressive. Beautiful hook again by the Thresh here, as Needher will pick up the Sejuani here, and that is absolutely huge for the fight, as the Draven does insane amounts of damage here. Gnar is still standing by with a teleport in hand. He could join in and try to fight this. Zac has decided to respond to the Gnar, who is just planning on pushing down all of the turrets here of the enemy team. So far, it's been doing a very good job, as Gnar is super resistant as well in this game. It's difficult to stop him, and he will take down another inhibitor here, as the blue team is still struggling to take down the red team. And beautiful wall slide here out of the Zeri will get herself to safety, as Needher will pick up the Nautilus, but is that enough to make it worthwhile? The trade here of Zac as well as the inhibitor. Zac doing the best to peel and get out of this situation that he has found himself in here, as now will get on Audi here, but he has taken what he needed, and that is another tower and another inhibitor here over to the Gnar. It's Draven now, actually in a little bit of a pickle, as the Gnar doesn't lay chase at right now, as Sejuani is respecting the Draven a little bit too much, and Draven will get himself to safety of this blue team side here, as yeah, right now, I mean, he has a good amount of money available here for the Syndra, but Needher has been able to catch up in farm and is a level above his mid lane opponent right now, as obviously the Zeri is trying to get as much money as possible here, which a little bit goes at the cost of the Syndra, who has been forced to group in a lot of these fights, not really able to do much. And we have to note that down is VIEGO can run her down in the side lane very well. Does do a lot of damage if he catches you out just like that, and then you can't really do much, as obviously the Scatter of the Weak can be cancelled together with the VIEGO ultimate. That is your one way in, as we are dealing massive amounts of damage here to the Baron, as yeah, Sejuani is going to go again, but the 50-50 this time goes over to the Zac, as the Sejuani ultimate will find Needher, but that absolutely doesn't matter. The fog comes out, as Zac will make his way over the wall and will be able to stay safe. As here, now the Gnar has found the back door actually and almost took down the Nexus. Me even more by surprise than the blue team here. And this Gnar is absolutely scary, dude. Just working on the side lane. As here now, Zeri will be caught out by the Draven. And that means that only Syndra is alive as it comes to the carries. Obviously also the base in shambles. And we will see if the blue team is able to get anything out of that. Obviously Soul is available here to them. And I'm pretty sure that they will pick that one up. As Thresh wanting to do some catch and cook onto the Syndra here. As yeah, the hook doesn't land, the W doesn't land, nothing really connects. And Syndra will just walk it off. Alright, the massive damage bot has arrived at the dragon, and that one will be taken down in just the blink of an eye. Draven obviously full build at this point, so we do want the game to end pretty much now. As now, Needher has a GA for himself, which is a super strong tool on something like the Viego, right? You can go in, you can flip a champion, deal a lot of damage, deal a lot of chaos, and then eventually still be able to live, especially together, to be honest, together with the dragon. This Chemtech dragon, it's not the craziest, but it can create some nasty situations, especially Viego does like it, likes being at low HP in a certain way. As Zag will eat some damage and some Black Cleaver stacks, will just jump into the enemy team. As the enemy team way too scared. As Gnar Gnar is up to some shenanigans. The blue team here pulling back and being a little bit careful as the Karma is going to come back and the W is going to be available here. She can chase down Gnar. There's no getting away from that one, so he might as well try to get the inhibitor here. He is trying to go for the inhibitor, but here he has been red and he has been outplayed, and that is absolutely tragic here for the red team, because that means that now there is no threat of the Gnar ending the game, which is what bound them here a little bit to their base and stopped them from running down and ending the game. But now the game is going to be absolutely open here for the blue team. They have to be still a little bit careful, as something like the Zeri can sneak into the base as well. But if we are able to spot all members as the blue team here, then we are able to just take them down. You see that Needher is still staying in proximity and kind of just doing maintenance of the wave. That is his job at this current point in time, as he does have a teleport in hand. So he will be able to, you know, respond to pretty much everything that could happen on the map here, as a fight now breaks out in the base of the opponent here, and that is going to be a Thresh going down very, very early. Zek dealing massive amounts of damage, obviously so is Draven, as Needher is setting up for the tower dive here, and so far only Syndra has been going down, as Gnar is now going to be available here again, and the red team once again gets away with peeling off the Viego and peeling away from the Draven, taking down the Thresh, who was just slightly out of position here. Big massive damage here onto the Sejuani, as a huge ultimate is going to find two people here, as Needher is laying chase now, and that is exactly what you want from a team fight here. Double kill goes over to the Viego. Do not make any mistake, this is not the Zeri picking up a double kill onto the Nautilus. This is Viego, as yeah, this is exactly what needed to happen. And actually he did have a lot of impact onto this fight going the way you wanted to. So beautiful job, as Draven obviously is putting out the main amount of damage here. As Gnar picked up as the final kill will be the Gnar. And that is the GG. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one, as we will spectate a little bit more FA Addy, and also hopefully some more Needher now that he is back and grinding it again. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Stay awesome.